What's going on, Buccaholics? How y'all feeling? Hey, listen up. I am excited to be sitting here right now. And I have an opportunity today to talk to somebody who we're all going to get to know over the next several months, because we're going to see a lot of him on our page and on our social media. This gentleman that I'm sitting with, if you did not already know, is Mr. CT Fletcher. CT Fletcher, as in the founder of the foundation that we have decided to sponsor for this year through our tournament. We'll talk about Steven Anderson here in just a minute and what he did to get you guys over the top. But right now, I want to just kind of give CT Fletcher just a second. I've done my homework. I went on YouTube and watched some videos from your YouTube channel, and I did a little research. I went to your website. I did a little research on IMDb. And I found out that I would never have even remembered this in a million years, but you happen to have shown up. This is totally side off, way bunny trailed off, by the way. But you happen to have shown up in one of the movies that I personally think should be considered a cult classic.
No.
One of the smartest written and hilariously acted films I've ever seen. Gangster Party.
Oh, man.
Dude, I'm sorry. I've read reviews on that movie for years, and people trash that movie, and I'm like, if you're not watching that movie and laughing your ass off, you're not getting it. You're not getting the joke. You're not understanding the movie. And I was looking today because I wanted to see, I knew that you had been in some films, and I wanted to see what they were. And I saw that pop up, and I went, oh my God. Anyway, CT Fletcher. If you guys have not ever heard that name before or seen this man's face before, you must not know much about weightlifting, powerlifting, bodybuilding in general, because if you've been in that world at all, you would recognize this name. CT, here's what I want to do. I'd like you to start out, if you don't mind, just kind of give us a little background on where you come from and who you are, just so, for the folks that aren't familiar.
Okay, I was born in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. But I was raised in the city of Compton, California, and that's where I picked up the nickname, the Compton Superman. But I was born down south in Pine Bluff, Arkansas.
Wow. And how did your family end up in Compton from Arkansas?
Okay, my dad thought to himself that I want my kids to be brought up in a better environment. So we did like the Jeffersons. We call ourselves moving on up.
Okay. I read something about that your dad was a pastor.
Absolutely, he was a Pentecostal, holiness or hell, fire and brimstone. Strictly by the book, kind of spare the rod, spoil the child type of guy.
Okay.
He was no joke.
So, growing up in Compton, what time period are we talking about when you were a kid?
60s.
In the 60s, okay.
Yeah.
Was that a when I think, pardon me for being old and Caucasian, but but when I hear Compton, there's a negative connotation. Is that what it was like in the 60s?
When we first got to Compton, believe it or not, Jay, Compton was a beautiful place in the early 60s, 61, 62, like that. It was a very beautiful place to grow up in. Everybody cared about their lawns. Everybody was, their houses were everything was clean. It was, you would not have recognized Compton 10 years later.
Wow.
Saying 62, 63. But by the time the 70s hit, drugs came in, Compton went straight downhill, gangs started developing, because when we first moved there were no gangs. And then the gangs start developing later on, 69, 70s, in the early 70s. Then the gangs started coming. When the drugs and the gangs started coming, that's when Compton got its reputation as a terrible place. And it was a very notorious, a very gang-infested, drug-infested place to grow up in. And so it was pretty rough.
So let me ask you this. Did those things trip you up? Because you said 10 years later. So was that the life that you found yourself in?
I'm glad you asked that. Well, see, I started at the beginning when you asked me about my dad.
Right.
My dad was Buddy Fletcher, and Buddy Fletcher didn't play that stuff.
Okay.
I had a gang deterrent at home named Buddy Fletcher. I had a drug deterrent at home named Buddy Fletcher. So, other kids could get away with a lot of stuff, but Buddy Fletcher would knock your block off. My dad would whoop your ass if if he did not believe in sparing the ride. So he kept us in line very well.
I noticed something else, and I'm going off of things that I was reading about you in your biography, on your website, other things. But you talked about when you left to enter the military as you being freed from the cage that you were in. So talk about that for a minute, because I did the same thing when I graduated high school. I went straight into the Air Force and got out of my town.
Yep, absolutely. That was it. That was the escape plan, man. It was either it had got to the point where my dad and myself we were butting heads so often and so much, and I was 18 years old. I was getting to the point where I wasn't taking that crap no more, and it was going to be either me or him. It came down to that. So I said, best thing for me to do is get out of here, because one of us is going to kill the other. we can't exist, under the same roof anymore. So I got to get out. So as soon as I could get out, I did. Just like you, I took that first exit, man. I was gone.
So at this point, and I'm going to backtrack just a little bit to high school, were you already working out, bodybuilding? Were you playing any sports in high school? Did you perhaps maybe play football or anything like that? I mean, not because that's all over my room or anything, but
I'm glad you asked that, because we discussed football a little bit before we got on the air. But I'm going to tell you this: in high school, I was a track and field athlete.
Okay.
And I ran the 220, which is 200 yards now, but they call it 220 when I was in school, and the 440.
Yeah.
Those were my two events. Now they got 400 meters and 200. 100. Hey, 220, man, that's what I ran. So I was a track athlete. But when I went into the military, one of the first things I did, I went straight to Germany. Even though my recruiter told me I wasn't going out of the States. My first duty was Germany.
Oh, they love to tell you those stories, don't they?
I said, I don't care what state I go to, as long as it's in the States. He said, no problem. And the next thing I know, I was on a plane to Germany, man. As soon as I got to Germany, the company, I was on the company football team, and I was a running back.
Oh, okay.
So I played football in the service.
And now you also started getting into martial arts when you were in the service.
Absolutely.
So was that at the same time, or?
Yep.
Let me ask you this: was that to alleviate the boredom? Because
no, that was so I could whoop my dad's ass when I got home.
Oh. Okay.
That was the plan, Jay. Because I don't want to kill him. I just let him know that I could whoop his ass. I wanted to pay him back for some of them ass whoopers I got.
You want to be able to stand up at least one of those times when he
Yeah,
says, "Do you want to try?"
yeah, man. That's right. I said, oh
Oh
yeah, I
man.
think I.
So you started out with what, karate or?
Yes, I was a taekwondo. I started in taekwondo, and I stuck with that until I earned the first degree black belt.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was really dedicated to it for a while there, Jay.
What stopped it?
Weightlifting.
And there we go.
I found a new love. I left my old baby behind.
So did weightlifting start as conditioning for karate and then become its own thing, or?
Actually, I started weightlifting when I was about 12 years old. Yeah, it started really early. I had a cousin who was, his name was Junior Miles, and he was in and out of prison all the time, Jay, all the time. So when he get out on parole, sometimes he'd come by and he would see my mom. And this guy he looked like Hercules. You know, I'm a little kid. To me, it looked like Hercules was coming by to see my mom. You know, like Steve Reeves was coming to my mom's
Right.
house. Like, oh my God, look at this. We got all kind of tension, and so that got me started. Was looking at him and wanting to be like him. My dad used to preach about Samson in the Bible all the time and how strong he was, and I'd hear all these stories about my grandfather and how strong he was. So it made me want to be strong. So I started lifting weights real early in the backyard. Then when I got, up to the military, I stopped to pursue martial arts full blast.
Right.
Then I came back to my love, after I got out.
And when did it become, because I know that you have been in competition both in just in weightlifting and in powerlifting.
Yes.
When did it become competition? When did you start doing that?
Yes, I started because at first I wanted to be a bodybuilder, be Mr. America. Like I said, we used to look at Hercules, Steve Reeves movies a lot when I was a kid.
Right.
So I wanted, be Mr. America. That was the big thing. Now I think it's Mr. Olympia is the big title everybody wants to be, but Mr. America.
Yep.
When I was a kid was the big title. You couldn't get no higher than Mr. America. So I wanted to be Mr. America. So I started lifting weights, wanted to be Mr. America. And then they told me that if you want to be Mr. America, you're gonna have to take steroids. And I'm like, what the heck is a steroid? What do you mean I gotta take it? And then so I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be Mr. America, but I didn't want to be Mr. America bad enough to take steroids. So they said that the other thing they had going on was weightlifting or powerlifting. See, they got contests to see who's the strongest. And I said, well, I've been strong since I was a little kid.
Right.
So I don't think too many people can be stronger than me. So I switched up and decided to just go out there and see who's the strongest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that kind of propelled you quite a bit. And among other things, you've had an opportunity to be a motivational speaker and to talk to people about going after their dreams and things like that. Tell me a little bit about how you went from that to kind of being more in the public eye. I know, like we talked about already, being in films and things like that, but.
Well, I made 5 of those very low budget movies that you're talking about. Party and the such, and nobody never heard of them except me and you. But anyway, I had that didn't do anything for me. Nobody knew, unless you're really looking for something like that, and it's not a lot of people. Probably 6 people seen Gangsta Party.
Right.
Most of them my family.
I'm telling you, I believe it deserves a place up there in that kind of cult classic category. If we can we got to get some more eyes on that movie.
Man, I tell you, I would love to see it on Turner Classic Movies.
Oh, there you go.
But I don't think it's gonna happen. But I would love to see it on there. but the thing that got me in the public eye, like I said, it wasn't those movies. Even though I was also in Batman versus Superman. I was in that too.
Oh, okay.
But that didn't do it. What got me was YouTube.
Really?
Yep, YouTube did it. I could not,
Wow.
they didn't have when I was a world champion. They didn't have YouTube. They didn't have social media. They didn't have none of that stuff. So nobody, even though I was a 6-time world champion, nobody knew who the heck I was. You know what I mean? And then this guy comes in the gym. I'm 53 years old. Guy comes in the gym and he says, "Hey, you want to be on YouTube?" And I said, "What the hell is YouTube?" And it's this thing where you can, talk and people look. I said, "Well, can I say whatever I want to say?" And he said, "Sure, you can say whatever you want to say." And I said, "Okay, I'm in. If I can say whatever I want to say, then it's fine." So he started filming me, and I said, "Look, my name is CT Fletcher, and if you don't like what I'm saying, turn me the F off." and Jay, I could not believe it, man. The next guy comes to the gym, he said, "Your video went viral." And I said, "What's viral?" He had to explain to me what viral was. And then he said, "Man, you got millions of people looking at you." I said, "What? Are you kidding? You mean after I told them to turn me the F off, they still looking at me?" And he said, "Man, they loved it." And I still don't, I can't really understand it, but it's a blessing.
Oh, that's fantastic though. That's a great story. That's a great way to kind of find a place too. And like I said, I've watched a bunch of your videos. I want to talk about your foundation. I want to get into that. We kind of got some background now. We know who we're talking to now. And I want to help those that are going to watch this to make the connection now between CT Fletcher, Compton Superman, 6-time world champion, to this foundation and heart transplants. And so how do we get from there to where we are now?
Okay. I'm so glad to have the opportunity to tell people about this. Thank you for that, Jay. I named the Heart Foundation after my mom. Her name was Ogie Rea Fletcher. I named it after her because of this. My mom passed away, and all 9 of her brothers and sisters, there was 10 of them all together, all 10 passed away from heart-related problems. They all passed away from some sort of heart-related problem. But the reason I named it after my mom, because I love her to death, for one, but I watched her, I watched my mom. I'm sorry.
That's all right, man. Take your time.
I watched my mom, her entire life, or my entire life. I watched this woman. She was sick. For my whole growing up, my mom was sick. She was in and out of the hospital. Rushing to the emergency room, in and out, in and out. But whenever you asked her, "Mrs. Fletcher, how are you doing?" Jay, my mom would always say, "I'm blessed." No matter what the condition. She could be this close to dying. If you asked her how she was doing, how she was feeling, she would always say, "I'm blessed," no matter what. And if she had 2 cents in her pocket, and you asked her for one, it was yours. she was the most giving. I told you about my dad. If it wasn't for my mom, I'd be a lunatic. I'm telling you, I'm a complete lunatic. My mom let me know that somebody loved me, man. So because my dad told me he hated me. So if it wasn't for mom let me know that she loved me, I probably would have been, in somebody's loony bin right about now. But she was that type of person. She was the most giving, most self-sacrificing person I've ever met. And she never got, she never asked for anything. So I just wanted to give her something. I know it's late. I know she's gone. It's posthumously, but I wanted to honor her for the person she was. Now, nobody knows her. Like you said, the other charities are famous. Everybody knows about them. And they're wonderful, wonderful charities. My mom is not famous. She got a third grade education. And then she went to work in the cotton fields, picking cotton in Arkansas. So she's not famous. Nobody knows Ogie Rea Fletcher. So I wanted the world to get a chance to know who Ogie Rea Fletcher was. So I named the foundation after her. That's how it got to be.
I like that. I can appreciate that. I'll share with you very quickly a very similar story myself, but with my father. He had his first heart attack when I was 10 and was in and out of the hospital for 6 years before he passed. So I feel that being that kid in school with the office calling, telling you better come say goodbye to your dad.
Yep. Absolutely.
And interestingly enough, my dad, no matter what, if you asked him how he was feeling, he'd say, with my hands. My dad was a smart ass like me, but I appreciate that. I appreciate that reason behind the name, and I know that that's going to help a lot of people to understand that. Now, tell me about what it is that the foundation is going to do. What are we when we put our money into this at the end of this season, and please let's hope that it's going to be a big number this season. We're going to do everything we can at every event we have to try and raise money for you. But when we do, where is this money going to go, and why this? What's the purpose, and why did you start it?
Okay, I'm glad you asked again, Jay, because
I got all the right questions.
Yeah, you do. I myself am a heart transplant recipient, and people think that if you get sick enough and you get in bad enough shape, then you just get a heart transplant, and it is definitely not like that. It's a long process. And during that long process, if you're the number one breadwinner in the house, right. Say you're the one that's bringing in most of this, paying the bills, and making sure everybody's okay. Say that the head of the household, and this hits you. All of a sudden, I went from this over the top talking guy on YouTube talking all this stuff about how I'll do this and I'll do that, and the next instant, all of that's gone. All of that's taken away. I was struck down till, I couldn't even put my own clothes on. I could barely brush my own teeth, barely take a shower. Everything was gone in just a blink. All those weightlifting titles and muscle, all of that was gone. Didn't need a thing. And I had to have people take care of me. But not only does the recipient or the person who needs the heart, how much trouble they're in, they're fighting for their life, their family, the bills keep going. I was a businessman. I was an entrepreneur after, I retired from the post office, but that didn't come until, last year. But before that, I had my business going on. When that heart attack hit, when I got on the transfer list, all that stopped. I wasn't able. I was traveling all over the world, going to different countries. All of that stopped. Everything stopped. But only thing didn't stop, Jay, was the bills. The bills kept coming.
Oh, they
My
always
landlord,
do, don't they?
hey, the light company didn't care that I needed a heart transplant. The water company didn't care that I needed a heart transplant.
Right.
Nobody cared. Nobody cared that I needed a heart transplant. So the foundation is to help people during that time, because that's the time people. Those bills still keep coming in, Jay, and it was very hard. It was hard on my family to keep the lights on, to keep things going. It was not easy, and I didn't want to put. If I could help some other family be able to get through that, then that's what the foundation was started for. Because I know how rough it is on those families trying to keep groceries on the table and during a time like that. So that's what the Ogie Rea Fletcher Foundation is all about, trying to help those families, the recipient, and those families of the recipient get through those difficult times.
And how do you find those people? How do you find those folks?
I tell you what, for me, it's really easy because I'm a veteran. And like yourself, I'm a veteran, and I got my heart transplant through the VA.
Okay.
So I'm always counseling other veterans, going to talk to other veterans. So mostly right now, it's solely through the veteran community that it's so easy for me to find the people, because they're getting heart transplants. I talk to veterans all the time who need assistance. I have one in mind, especially right now. He's having a real rough time. He had the transplant, but people think it's over after. Oh, he got his heart now. It's still a rough ordeal after transplant.
But I've watched Grey's Anatomy. It happens in one day. They come in, they put them on the list, they illegally move them up the list, they give them a heart, and they walk out.
And there you go.
You mean that's not how it works?
That's definitely not how it works, man. Definitely not how it works. It's a lot different in real life.
Oh man. Well, I'll tell you what, I appreciate that part a lot, especially as well. The fact that I did not realize that this could be a possible connection to also helping veterans. I mean, definitely. I mean, I could make that connection, but I didn't realize it could be that direct.
Yes,
right?
Most definitely.
One of the reasons that I nominated the charity that was in the finals against yours was because what they do is do work for military families. They support the families of military that are deployed for long term.
Right.
Stuff like that. So that's one of the things that brought them into my mind in the first place. So I was already feeling great, because let me tell you, as soon as the tournament's over, my mind goes, now we're focused on this. We are focused on this charity now. The tournament's fun, and Steve and I poke fun at each other a little bit during the week that we were against each other. I told you I was going to bring him back up again, didn't I?
Yeah.
It was a pretty close one for a little bit, but he ended up kind of kicking my ass in that final week. How are you guys connected? I know he's told me a little bit, but because I'm trying to make all the connections now.
Okay. His brother-in-law, Richard Schoenberger, was my training partner for 30 years. We lift weights together for 30 years. He's one of the strongest men in the world, in history, is his brother-in-law. And his sister married Rich. So his sister is like my sister. And now Stephen is like my brother.
All right, then.
Yeah, that's how that happened. So we've been knowing each other a long time.
Well, that's cool. Let me ask you something else. Long term, what do you hope to do? Are you focusing? I know you said you've got the VA connection. Are you kind of focusing locally right now? Do you hope to kind of spread out and do more like at a greater distance, or what do you think?
most definitely. I want to spread out, as far as wide as possible, man. To right now, it's all military. Because of my connection with having the heart transplant through the VA and getting to talk to those veterans personally, one on one. They call me in when they got a guy who's having a hard time, adjusting after the transplant, or he's a little fearful going into the transplant because it'll play with your mind. Like myself, I flatlined 5 times before I even got my transplant. So it can do something to your mind, man. I was out of here 5 times before I got my heart. So it'll play tricks on you. But I'm in a unique position. But talking to you, Jay, hearing about the charity that you selected, I don't know if this ever been done. I don't even know if it's possible. But I would like, if it's possible, to donate half of whatever the Ogie Rea Fletcher Health Foundation gets to your charity.
Oh, wow. I don't know about that.
Let's check it out, man. Let's see if it can be done.
We'll talk. We can talk about it, but I think we want to send all that money in one direction for sure. That's the way we want it. That's the way we do it. You guys came out on top. And like I said, I'm super excited. And I'm hoping that when people see this video, it's going to get them even more excited about this charity and about this opportunity that we're going to have this season. We can talk more about that other stuff down the road.
All right. I'm just so thankful, so grateful. I still can't believe it, but I'm forever in your debt. And Buccaholics everywhere. Thank you.
Well, we sure appreciate you I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, and we appreciate you being somebody that is willing to kind of put yourself out there and start something like this foundation and to try and help people that are going to be going through or are going through what you went through. That's there, man, so many connections. We really need to sit down and have a beer. We need to sit down. You need to come up here and come chill at the bar in my backyard and have a beer and go jump in the pool and we can talk because my dad, when they forced him to retire from work, that lasted 3 months. And then he became the assistant chaplain at the hospital that he was always in. And his main job was counseling people in the cardiac care unit.
Whoa! Boy, we
I mean, we just got all kind of connections, all kind of tie-ins.
Wow.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I can't wait for people to see this. I'm excited. I'm gonna say one more thing before I let you go, and that is that I hope that you are already making plans to come up to Santa Clara when the Bucks come into town to play the 49ers.
I was already talking to Steven about that, and I told they don't get upset, but my daughter is the 49ers #1 fan.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right. We'll you know what? That's one of the things that Buccaholics parties are known for, is being open and inclusive, and we love everybody, even those fans of the team we are about to play or just played. So y'all would still be welcome with open arms, and I would love to be able to meet you in person to shake your hand and maybe sit down and have that beer and share some stories.
Definitely. Let's make a dig.
We got it. All right. Well, thank you guys one more time. This is CT Fletcher. The foundation is the Ogie Rea Fletcher Heart Foundation. That is the official charity for the year. Hopefully now you guys will know a little bit more about who CT is, who Ogie Rea Fletcher was, what the foundation is about, and why we want to do everything we can this season to support them.
Thank you very much, man.
Thank you, brother. All right, peace, y'all. We're out.